All right. Welcome, everybody. We're Exodus AD. Kev, Jimmy,
I'm John.
And I'm Mike.
and we started this band in 1976. And so, what do we got here? How did the band
How
start?
did it
Get
start?
together.
Well, I think you should probably tell the story of the talent show that you guys did in what,
Well-
8th grade?
Yep.
That's kind
No,
of the
I was in 6th grade.
6th.
Mikey was in 8th grade.
Yep.
Wow.
So,
That's kind of the precursor
that
of the
is
forming
yeah.
of the band.
Right.
Well-
So Mikey, I started playing around, seriously playing drums around 72. John you were playing by then, weren't you?
No.
You weren't. Okay.
No.
So we didn't know John yet at the time. Jimmy and Mikey and I, we've known each other since we were around 10 years old. So Mikey started playing guitar around the same time, I guess,
We
72,
started in
73.
California, man.
Well, yeah, but we didn't really know how to play.
No, but we were putting on a show.
Yeah, we were putting on a show.
That's right.
So Mikey and I played a talent show. I think it was 1975 or 4 or something like that. And we didn't win.
We lost to a
Mike.
piano player.
No. Carl Watts was a great player, and he deserved to win.
He did. He was playing like really nice classical stuff. I remember.
His
Yes,
brother,
what did you guys
his brother
play?
Andre Watts is
Smoke
one
on
of
the
the
Water.
most world famous piano players in the world. So he deserved to win. He was way better than us. But if you go by applause and the screaming people, we
We
won
won.
by far.
Yep.
No one even came close. So, and what we did, Mikey and I did, is we painted our faces. Not like Kiss, our own thing. It was kind of more Indian looking, if anything. It was just a couple of stripes or whatever we did. And we put glitter on all the drums, and Mikey had a bag of glitter. And when they opened the curtain, Mikey comes out throwing this glitter, and I guess I started playing a beat or something. And then the people were just going nuts, because, Alice
rock
Cooper
and
and all
roll.
that was, yeah, it was
rock and
rock.
roll.
And Kiss was gigantic at that time. I think that same year, Kiss Alive came out. So that was a big thing. And then we started off with Smoke on the Water.
Yep.
And then we went into our own little original thing. Very primitive, like Smoke on the Water, but it was our own thing. So we've been doing originals from the beginning. So after that, Mikey started getting, I was a little bit young yet, I was 6th grade. Mikey started getting, the phone was ringing off the hook with girls calling the house every
Yeah.
10 minutes. Jimmy got a load of that and said, I want to join the band.
Yeah, I was healthy. I was,
So
As a bass player.
that's right.
as a bass player.
Jimmy joined me and Mikey and started playing bass. It was very short-lived, though. I don't think he
Yeah,
played too long.
I didn't play too long. and
Jimmy
then,
jumped right from bass right into guitar, and then the three of us were playing together for a little bit, and I got saved in 1976. I don't know when you guys met the Lord, but I met the Lord in 76. I guess you were around
Yep.
the same time. And John, his mom owned a Christian bookstore in town, and we met him. I don't remember, maybe through Jimmy's sisters.
Probably.
how did I
Yeah.
meet you? I don't even remember how.
I think
met
we,
you.
I
It
think
might have
Margaret and
been-
Dorothy were
it
going
might
to a
have been
Bible
the
study.
Bible studies.
Yeah, we were going
Really?
to Bible studies. Yep.
Yeah, because my mom had the bookstore, and I guess Dorothy and Margaret, were coming out to the bookstore, and then my mom started there was a youth group at the Methodist church.
Okay.
And I don't remember which came first, the youth group or the Bible studies or whichever it was. But we mostly met the 4 of us, at those Bible studies at my mom's house.
I just remember. The only thing I really remember from meeting you back then, the first kind of real encounter was when Kevin said, "Man, I found this bass player. Man, you got to hear this guy," and you came down to Kevin's house.
Yeah.
I'd only been
And-
playing a couple of months.
Well, you were impressive.
It was
because
amazing.
We had been playing for years and still sounded like we've been playing for a couple months. But when I met you and you started doing that riff,
That's it. John came to my house, and we were looking. We met John and found out he played music and played bass guitar.
I taught myself just playing through. There was a bass guitar around the house. Just plug the bass into the hi-fi, which you could do in those days.
Right.
And just played along with the radio, and
Right.
just taught myself just playing along with the radio.
Well, you did a great job.
And one of the songs that I had learned that I was really excited about, I showed you guys. Boom, 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 money, the bass line to,
Yeah.
you know.
So John
Floyd
comes
money.
over, and really, I think I was like the only one that could actually play actual songs and stuff because I had been playing for 4 years at this time. So, and I was really
Easy to
serious
do when you're a
about it.
drummer.
Perhaps.
The chords are different, but yeah.
The chords are different. Right?
Yeah.
I'm usually never out of tune.
Yes, usually.
So John comes over, and he just straps his bass on. He had a Beatle bass.
Oh, yeah. A Hofner copy.
Yeah, it was a
I
Hofner copy.
remember
He had the
that.
Beatle bass. That's what came over. And he just went right to town, man. He started playing Pink Floyd's Money. And it's like, you're in, dude. You got to remember, I just turned 13 when all this was going on. John was just shy of 15, and these guys were 14. So, you know, we were very, very young, started young. And we started writing our own songs right from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very, very cool. So that's that one. How'd we come up with the name? Okay. We came up with the name. We were at a Bible study at John's house.
Yep.
And it was either Margaret or Dorothy, one of Jimmy's sisters.
Biblical.
Right. And they said Genesis is
like
already
Genesis.
taken. Right. But it's already taken.
What's the next book in the
Yeah,
Bible?
so, right.
Yeah,
So they said, well, why not Exodus?
broke our brains on that one.
Yeah. And that was it. It literally happened that quick. Said Genesis is already taken. Why not Exodus? And we went, yeah, okay, cool. So it was Exodus for many years until the other Exodus came along, and so we added the AD. So that's how that came
I
along.
came up with that.
Yes, you did.
Because to me, it's got a deeper meaning because AD means Anno Domini, which is in the year of our Lord. So deliverance, which
Right.
Exodus means, deliverance in the year of our Lord.
Yeah, right.
So it's
Yeah.
I have my
well, believe me,
moments.
Yeah.
I agree
Like,
yeah,
100.
he stumbled into brilliance. He didn't know
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
People will do anything to sell you $1, man.
Yeah, man.
So that's how the name came about. Very, very easy. When did you start
Writing songs.
We started writing songs right from the very beginning. Matter of fact, the first song ever written, John and Jimmy wrote, was called "Blood of the Lamb," and that was we wrote it at your house because the first place we practiced was John's house in his basement, and eventually we moved to my house during most of
remember how you came up with that
1977.
riff?
Then 78, 79,
Blood of
we
the
were
Lamb.
at Jimmy's house.
Yep.
No,
Did you come up with that riff?
No, he did.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
No, I don't remember
did.
either.
You do?
How? Come on,
Oh,
speak up.
goodness, man.
The microphone is
Come
here.
on, man.
He kind of stole it
I did?
from Boston.
Nice.
Nice.
Nice, man.
Well, that's a good place to thieve
Yes.
from.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like in the I forget which Boston song, but it's right at the beginning of the song. That's the first.
it Hitch a
no,
Ride?
No, it's
Hitch
what
a
song
Ride?
is that? It's
Go down.
Oh, smoking. Smoking?
No, I don't think that's smoking.
Well, we're just another band out of
Boston
On the road trying to make ends meet.
rock and roll band.
Rock and roll band.
Yeah, that's it.
Really? Is that- well,
Yeah, see, I
glad it's
I like
We'd
to
be
give
killing it
credit.
and name that tune.
I'm glad we it doesn't sound anything like it. So,
No,
and that's
the
the good
first
thing.
two notes, right? Or
Yep.
something.
And
yeah.
that's the thing about inspiration. You know what
that
I mean?
you could steal from other people. Yes, that's
You know what? Katie
The
said
best
it best.
songs.
Nobody is 100% original, but you take an inspiration from somewhere and you make it your own. You put your personality into it and you make it your own. And so that was the first song that we wrote. That was a John and Jimmy tune. And then the second song was called Weeds. That was a John and Jimmy tune. Actually, no, we all wrote something in
It was
that now.
inspired by Mikey.
It was,
Can't imagine how that could be.
the 70s were a crazy time. So that was the second song that we wrote. And the third song we wrote is Lost to History. It's a song called
Bronze Serpent.
Bronze Serpent.
Yeah.
We played it live at our very first gig, and that was the end of it. We never recorded it.
I don't think it had lyrics.
No, it was an instrumental.
It was an instrumental.
Right. So that one's lost to history, so we'll never have that back. But it's an instrumental. And we wrote it, I think, just for that gig because we only had 2 songs.
Yeah.
And we needed 3 tunes.
We stretched him out.
Yeah.
What's that first gig?
It was like,
It was at the Acme parking lot in between the buildings, and they played The Cross and the Switchblade. We opened up for The Cross and the Switchblade, the movie. And then after that, then we started really getting into songwriting a lot more. I think John was really the main songwriter for a while. Actually, you wrote a lot of the music.
Musically,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
Jim's riffs, my lyrics.
That and
Oh, your melodies too, which is
that
part of the
it
music.
kind of made me understand why I switched instruments at that time, because like when I was on bass, it was like it felt like what was desired was coming from like you or Mikey saying just do this, just do that, and I was
Right.
like I wasn't really comfortable with that. It was like it just like I didn't feel as expressive at all with it, and then that's when I got my dad bought me my first guitar, and after that I started realizing, oh, I can make some sense out of this thing a little bit. So that's the reason for the writing spurt and the stuff like that, because you feel inspired when you find the right vehicle.
Right. And we played. I don't know how many gigs we played in 1977, but we played quite a few, and so we gained songs quick because I think like the third was Bronze Serpent, the fourth was really something like You've Been Loving Me, and then after that was Sweet Sorrow Song. And those are the first 5 that I remember being early on, and they're all on the tape that my dad made in I think it was spring or summer of 1977. I think we had like 10 or 12 songs on there. So that's we wrote a lot of tunes.
You know what's fun too is the way that we would revolve our rehearsal spaces. I think because it was the rec room at your house.
Well, your place first.
Okay, my basement at my parents' house,
Right.
basement at your parents' house.
Oh yeah.
And each of them has their own stories because we could only do that for so long before we'd start to wear out the welcome in in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
I mean, we were a true rock band. We had one volume, and that was Rock Band Loud.
Right.
Yeah.
There was no such thing as turning it down. But that's how
We
rock
just need
bands work.
bigger amps. So every time we didn't think we were loud enough. We just got bigger and bigger and bigger amps, keeping the volume at 10. And that's where it
that's
should
right.
be.
Well, we actually did things right as far as the amp. Well, you had a good amp. You had a Trainer amp. They're not bad. They're good amps. I think Doug Pinnick credits Trainer with his bass amps that his signature bass amps, because it all started with that, and he was trying to replicate that
Forgot
sound.
about the trainer.
And then Jimmy, before these guys all had Japanese copy guitars. Now, back then, the Japanese copies were as good as the American copies. And a lot of people seek after those today because they were made very well. So, but in like 1977, Jimmy he still had his, I don't know, what did you have, a Cortez or, I can't remember which one it was.
And I got your old bass.
Yes.
Your Sears bass.
Right, you steal all my basses.
Was it an SG
John.
copy?
No, it was sort of like a Precision,
Okay.
I
don't remember it.
Yeah, you still have that?
No.
Well, you didn't give it back.
No.
He sold it.
It's gone.
So we wrote a lot of songs real fast, very, very creative. And I was being the youngest in the band, I was a sponge. I was soaking up everything that Jimmy and Mikey were doing, and John. And
Let's talk
songwriting.
about some of these rehearsal space experiences.
Well, hold on a second. I wanted to talk about 1977 while we're still playing the Japanese instruments. Jimmy got a twin reverb. I mean, that's like top
Fender
of the
twin
line.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Mikey got a custom 3 lead series,
Yeah.
which is a killer amp for its solid state, but it's a
Gearheads.
killer amp like what King's X would use or something like that. It's a different. They used Lab series to start off with, but his amp had a real heavy sound. And I don't know, the combination of the two just worked out nice.
Yes.
It was, the freaks were good.
Yeah.
You know.
The freaks were good. So, you
'Cause
wanted to talk about
Yeah, because at Jim's house, when we were too loud, Mrs. Mayberry,
Oh, yeah. Famous words.
she'd flicker the lights because she couldn't shout over us.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Had to get our
Flicker
attention.
the lights like, what? Mom, what?
Meatloaf!
Jimmy, make a low.
Very famous. Jimmy Make a Low. We even give her
turn it
credit in the CDs if you have
That's
the
what that
CDs.
means.
That's what that means. And then we also, at John's house, now you got to understand, all our dads were military. Lifers in the military. So that means 20 years or more. So John's dad was a Golden Gloves champ. So he was a drill sergeant. So you didn't mess with Mr. Tidwell. You just didn't mess. Anyway, we were downstairs one day, and John didn't do the pots and pans because he hates cleaning the pots and pans. His dad comes home, and I think we're playing or talking or something.
My
think-
dad
Whatever
could
it
shout
was.
over us.
Yeah, and
he could shout
shouted
over us.
And it was like, gentlemen! Oh, no, he goes, John, get up here. And John went up and he was yelling at John about the pots and pans or whatever. And then he just yells downstairs. He goes, gentlemen, vacate! And you never seen 3 dudes run out of that house so quick.
Like our
man.
hair was on fire.
Yeah.
Like, we were gone.
What were the problems we got to at your house?
Cops.
Yeah.
Cops.
The neighbors called
Neighbors
And the
call the
neighbors,
cops.
courtesies.
And that's what that song, Rock and
neighbors
Roll's
are-
My Kind of
The
Music.
neighbors try to call the cops and tell us.
Right.
Yep.
Hey, we got to turn it down.
Right.
That's true.
I wrote that song. I was a junior in high school, and I wrote that in a creative writing class. And I think it's one of the only times in school I got an A. But yeah, it's a true statement. We'd play, until the neighbors called the cops and said we had to turn it down. My dad was the dude that handled that situation. The diplomatic.
The mediator.
The mediator. Yeah. So we never got in real trouble. We just had to shut it down for that day or whatever, But yeah,
And then there was the trouble we got into with people at church.
that's a great story. You should tell.
Yeah. It was.
This is the 70s.
This was the 70s.
Yeah, you should tell the story because I never got in trouble.
And I should say too, we were inspired by. There was a Jesus movement going on at that time, where it was just really cool to be in love with Jesus. And the other thing that we thought was cool, and that's why where Weeds was part of it, the same Jesus movement that was happening in the 70s, people were learning about the Holy Spirit and what it means to be, sort of caught up in the Spirit. And there was this sense of euphoria, that we likened to being high, and I thought we truly experienced, this high feeling, at the Bible studies when we're worshiping the Lord. But anyway, along with that comes long hair and blue jeans because it was part of hippie culture.
That stuff's out now.
Well, but it was also part of rock and roll culture too.
Yeah.
I mean, since the the Beatles and junk.
But because the church we were at, we're showing up at church, in dirty jeans with holes,
Flannel shirts.
flannel shirts.
I still wear the same stuff I've been wearing for 50 years.
And the old guard of guys, men at the church, are like, you can't come to church like that. There were a couple of guys that kind of cornered us and said, you have to dress up for church. But God bless Reverend Amy.
Yeah.
He held them to task. He said,
Yeah, I didn't know that story about like how he really went to bat for
He
us.
did.
He did.
Man.
He did.
You know?
He said he literally told those guys. He said, "You leave those kids alone. That nobody's making them come here. They want to be here."
Yeah.
And that was that, man.
We didn't catch any more business for that.
I don't remember any,
No.
but
Yep.
we had our fair share, I'm sure. I don't remember a lot of it. I remember a lot of the good times. But, people, when something's different and, people think you can't have Jesus because you have long hair or you wear jeans or, you play in a rock and roll band, that's absolutely ridiculous,
Agreed.
So, yeah, that was something that we had to deal with in the 70s, but we kept right on going. I mean, it wasn't any skin off my back. We just kept going.
I'll give
And
a
our-
little credit to like Larry Norman too. Had a line from his song. Why should the devil have all the good music? And because we loved rock and roll, and we just didn't see that it was evil. How could something that brought us such joy and pleasure be evil?
Right. It's the intent behind it.
Yeah.
Music is I don't know what you call it, but
Beautiful.
It's neither good nor bad.
Right.
It's the intent behind it. So if you have an evil intent behind it, then yes, fine. It is evil. Just like a gun. A gun's neither good or bad. You use it for hunting, it's good. You use it to kill somebody and murder them, that's bad. Or it's not the gun's fault, it's the people's fault.
What if the guy is a jerk?
What if a guy is a jerk?
There's
Can you kill him
this
then?
level
Yeah, just
thing
punch
there.
him in the throat.
We're supposed to love our
But you have
enemies.
to understand, along the lines of what you were saying about like with the church and everything like that. I just remember like the other part about not being accepted for who we were doing it at that time was because not many bands in the United States that I knew of that were playing Christian rock.
Right.
It wasn't
And
really rock.
It wasn't. Yeah,
by
it
our
was-
definition.
No,
it wasn't.
we
'Cause
were
influenced a lot by like Black Sabbath
Yes.
and Led Zeppelin and
Zeppelin,
stuff. And so to put that element, our influences in it into our music, just made it that much more eviler, air quotes,
yes.
eviler. So I guess, and there's taboos to that. And we didn't really, I don't think you realized it or you that we were crossing some sort of bridge that was different than other bands that were out doing
that
this
time,
stuff,
yeah.
and we were probably, like I said, there was another band, Resurrection Band, and we fell in love with that group because, man, we felt, and I don't know about how you guys
This is the
felt.
first real Christian rock band that we remember.
hard
hearing.
rock.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Hard
would
rock.
classify them as hard rock because that's what we were doing. I mean, Keggy has some rock tunes, Time and stuff
Because we
like
had
that.
heard Keggy
Oh,
before.
and love
Yeah.
his town. Yeah, he's
and Larry Norman.
Yep.
You know,
I've seen Keggy 50 times or more
Gee whiz.
since 1977.
I think the reason why we like some of his stuff, not only because he's an incredible guitarist, an incredible musician, it's the fact that like there was songs that when he would play certain riffs, at least for me, when he would play certain riffs, he would be right on the envelope of being like, man, this could be like really, really crazy if you just crunched it up a little bit, and made it sound a little bit more but at
a
the
little more
time,
distortion.
little bit more dirt in there. Come on, Phil. But it was like, but even then, that's where we were drawn to that kind of stuff. I know you were.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I know you were heavily into that stuff. So it was like, and I was too, because if it was the louder, the more aggressive, the more I liked it.
Yep.
Yep.
So, and that's where I think we made a difference there in ours, because that's how we kind of pulled from all that.
So that leads to the whole influences conversation.
It's
Right.
everywhere.
And that's why Kevin's pulling it
Yeah,
up.
I have some bands, and if there's any other, you guys let me know. But these are
The obvious ones.
The obvious ones are Zeppelin, Kiss.
Kiss.
People that weren't around in 1975 when Kiss Alive came out. It's probably impossible to understand what that meant when it came out. Same with, for me, Zeppelin,
'cause you guys-
Physical
when-
Graffiti. When the
'cause
first time I heard Kashmir.
When the first Kiss Live.
Yes.
Alive. How old were you guys? 13, 14?
12,
Yeah.
13.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was 75, so I was like 12.
So that's super impressionable.
Super
Yep.
impressionable. And the stage show was crazy amazing. And the songs, they were hard rock,
Right.
whether you
Good stuff.
like pop hard rock or not or whatever. They had great songs. Of course, Zeppelin was a big one for me being a drummer because John Bonham was, he was everything to me. Then
Jim, I threw this one in there. I threw Mountain in there because I remember you saying the Leslie West was a real big influence on you.
Huge.
and so was Michael Schenker. So that's
Yeah,
why
yeah.
I put UFO in there. So some of our big influences
But
were
yeah, I'm looking down this list, and I'm going. The thing I'm recognizing is, okay, yeah, the Led Zeppelin, the Kiss, the Sabbath, and of course the Christian artists, Larry Norman, Phil Keaggy, Keith Green, and stuff like that. But what was happening here was like you can almost chronologically see the what we did is like when we found a band that we liked and we were influenced by, and we kind of like. I could even hear it on the albums now that the
There are songs that
influence,
started to
you could
lean
just
that way.
pick them up,
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
oh, that's right, man. That's when I was like falling in love with Kansas.
Yeah,
And,
good stuff.
you
Yep.
know, and you could see it in the music that we wrote, that it was, and music was doing this thing where it was, we were on that slope, of trying
And
to.
I'm seeing
be in
Styx
there.
on there. I didn't realize that because I was swearing up and down that Styx wasn't on there.
Yeah.
But in the way that we recorded this stuff, we didn't have keyboards.
No, not when we were back in the 70s. It was just,
was just
two
two
guitars. It was
guitars,
very
bass,
much like
and
Thin
drums.
Lizzy,
You know,
You know.
but if we could have,
if we could have, right?
and
you-
that's what we did,
Right, and you
we
mentioned
went
that.
to the studio.
The idea was we wanted to make the records
Sound
that we could have, that we wanted to make, but we couldn't because we were poor. We had no
Young,
money. We couldn't afford
stupid.
studio time.
Yeah,
And so
it's
we
as
really
it's as if our grown-up versions stepped back into time and just bankrolled everything and said, gave us free reign.
Right.
Here's the studio.
Right.
Here's the tools. What can you do with it?
I gotta
Right.
agree with you on a certain point, but and in another way, I gotta disagree because when we have those, we had the means of doing it in the studio, but we still, and this was mainly because of you, that you wanted to keep the integrity of the songs that we wrote back then and keep that
Absolutely.
same feel. You know what I mean?
The original intent. of
Yeah,
the
the
song.
original intent,
Yep.
because it's easy to go, okay, well, I got this new thing, and
Right.
you got this great synthesizer
And
that
blow
can
it
do all
up.
the, and you
Right.
could really kind of take away. But what you did was say, no, we have to
No.
have, if we're going to do it, we got to do something more and keep it in the lines of the time era that we were in.
And not only that, but that's how we played. That's all our influences. So
Yeah.
it's natural for us to be in that space.
Sure.
Because that's,
It's a comfort zone.
well, not a comfort zone. I mean, trying to play Rush is not exactly comfortable. You know what I mean? But that's the genre that we were molded and shaped by. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That all these bands here, it's Zeppelin, Kiss, Sabbath, Larry Norman, Phil Keaggy, Keith Green, Thin Lizzy, Queen, Rush, Genesis, Kansas, Styx, UFO, Mountain, Rainbow, April Wine, and more.
That's what we aspired to.
And we actually, the first song on the first volume is a progressive song. I never knew it until I sat and thought about it years later. I'm like, wait a minute, we're playing the opening part. It starts in 4, and then when the singing part comes in, we're playing in 6, and then we play one measure of 4, and then we go into 8. We didn't know that we were playing prog music,
can't even
but we
count that
were.
high.
At some point, we're just going to start listening to music here, right?
Right. We're going to just start listening to each song, and then we're going to comment on each song and what we remember about it, writing it, all this other stuff. Another thing I want to mention is I really want to thank Jimmy's dad, my dad, and John's mom. John's mom owned the Christian bookstore, so she had all the connections. She managed us. She got us into some gigs that were pretty decent.
Yeah.
And so grateful for that. And my dad, in 1977, we recorded A Span of Music. My dad was just an 8-track player, if you remember those things from the 70s, with one microphone in the room, and we recorded these songs. That's all we had.
And then,
And then, right, and then 1978, 79, we were at his house, and his dad actually had a reel-to-reel in a hi-fi system, and he recorded us with 2 microphones.
Big step.
Big step.
Big step, man.
We doubled the production.
He drilled holes through the
Yeah.
house
Through
Yeah.
to
through
run
the
those
floor
mics.
to
He
run
was
the
crazy like that. Yeah.
So yeah, but the key point being, a lot of these songs, like you mentioned before, would have been lost to history if we didn't have those recordings.
Yeah,
Because
that's true.
in the 90s, I asked Mr. Mayberry for the reel-to-reels, and he was hesitant to give them up, but he knew I just wanted to transfer
Some of
them
them
to
were like
digital.
boombox recordings, right? Wasn't the live at the Mirror Lake Beach one recorded on a boombox?
No,
My
that
dad
was
had- my
recorded.
dad had
Your
a-
dad recorded that?
No.
Dad had a reel, Kevin.
No, that was mine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we recorded that on my TIAC. It was a 4-track reel-to-reel, but it's a horrible recording. I didn't know what I was doing. But that was the best production song of all of our songs. So, and it's on my Facebook thing somewhere. You have to look for it. It's like a 1-minute section of that song being played, and you can hear it's being played through a boombox. So just the camera microphone's picking up the boombox.
So how many of these songs were there actual, because there was a total of like 33
something like that.
songs. How many were there actual copies?
Okay, well, we lost
some.
Bronze Serpent. That's the only one that there was another one we never finished, but it was called
Was it 2112 or?
no, that was all done.
I'm
That's
sorry,
we have
1225.
I have recordings of all that.
Oh,
stuff.
you do?
Yeah. There are about 5 tunes that didn't make it on, not because they're not decent enough to. It's the recordings just weren't. They needed to be, I don't know, remixed and a few things replayed. They just weren't.
Subpar.
Yeah, they were subpar, not quite. But the tunes are cool. But maybe one day we'll go in there and fix them up and release them some other time. Anyway, so yeah, it was having those recordings was a big thing because my dad recorded all of our early stuff was recorded, and Jimmy's dad recorded all of our mid to late stuff, and then So the last song we ever worked on together as a band was a song called "Back to You." That was the last one, and then we broke up in October of 1980. So we lasted 4 years. But John was almost 20, or you were almost 20 when we broke up. So I mean, I was 17.
Do we
when
want
we
to
broke
say anything
up.
about the breakup?
Yeah, I don't care. You can.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure on a Christian band to be Christian, and at least because we didn't know what the rules were, but it felt like we needed to be holy. We needed to preach the gospel. We needed to get almost like an altar call in every song, and we're 16, 17. It's a
15, 14.
lot of pressure. Plus you guys in high school, you had other things distracting you.
Why are you looking at me?
I wasn't looking at you.
I think we all have things distracting us.
I think you and I both were trying. We had really set the bar so high, and nobody can live up to that. I think we had unrealistic expectations of what. So anyway, but that created hard feelings because you're not doing what you should. I think Mike was the first one that kind of got the boot from the band. Because Mike was messing around.
we and the thing is, I can't speak for these guys. I didn't fully, although I was saved, I didn't understand fully how I was saved. That it's the grace of God,
Right?
that we're saved.
Grace.
We didn't understand that. We thought we had to be goody two shoes. Now I will say that if you truly believe, there is a regeneration, a spiritual regeneration that takes place. And
Kevin's getting deep.
No, well, you don't want to
Get a shovel.
You don't want to do things that you used to do, or try not to anyway. But it's a journey we're on. I mean, listen, none of us would have made it. King David and Abraham, they were all lying murderers and killers. Moses was a murderer. I mean, we're saved by the grace of God, and that's
I
where
think
we need
ultimately
to keep.
it was the expectations that killed
I think
the
it's
band.
what
That killed
it
the
is.
band.
I think
And being disappointed. I remember struggling with smoking. And
think
as
we're
soon as
also-
I lit up a cigarette, I thought, well, that's it. I'm done. I can't be a
I
Christian.
think we're also disappointed too that it wasn't paying well. We had invested a lot of time, a lot of energy, and our parents invested a lot of money.
Yep.
And then we'd go to these places and they'd pass an offering plate, and we traveled 3 hours to get there, and you got like $15 in the
Well,
offering
kids
plate.
don't have money.
Yeah.
I didn't care personally. I never cared about the money. I didn't even think about that. Really, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't care about it.
To me, I thought it was all along the lines of what you guys were saying.
Yeah.
There was an added thing also where it was, and we, you and I go through this almost on a daily basis with people because John and I play in another band, but it's that people have a tendency to come up to you and tell you what you should be doing or what songs you should be playing, and you get that, and we were getting that a lot back in that back in the early days. You had your parents telling you should be doing this and everything. My dad was a huge Johnny Cash fan.
My
So,
dad
he
too,
wanted to
yep.
hear
Yeah.
something more along the lines of Johnny. You guys are playing too heavy. You guys got to reel it back a little bit. And it was just like, oh man, Dad, you don't know what you're asking. It's
We did disobey them one time.
once.
Yeah, on stage we disobeyed them. We were told not to play the song "Dead or Alive" at Dave Bailey's place, Ranch Hope for Boys.
Yep.
It was
And-
too aggressive.
It was too aggressive. They said, "Let's not do that."
They loved it.
Yeah, they loved it. The kids loved it. Well, what happened was, and we wouldn't have done it had we not had extra time. And I have this on video. I mean, not video, but audio of that gig.
Wow.
I have the live video from, I think that's 1979 or 80. I can't remember. But we were there, and we had some extra time, and John said, he starts laughing, saying, we're going to disobey our parents a little bit here.
We call that.
And we did the song "Dead or Alive." And then, it wasn't
called it
like we were in
Omaha,
trouble.
Omaha.
We had, the kids loved it though.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I thought what we did at our shows I thought was really unique and cool was the lyric sheets. we had a friend, Cindy Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember? She would actually
Yeah.
draw out our lyrics and then just put artwork around it.
Yeah, it's
so
really
we're
cool.
passing out our lyrics so that.
Do we have any of those?
Yeah, you have some, don't you?
I do, yeah.
We definitely have them on phones and cameras and all that stuff. Yeah, I have some. I have copies, I think. I don't have the originals you do, I think.
Yeah.
And we also had that poster that Cindy drew up of
Yep.
I forget what show it was. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's that. That's really the band in a nutshell,
Yeah.
and all the side
From
periphery.
conception to our great demise.
Yeah. Well, we always remained friends, even though we had disagreements and stuff like that. We always remained close friends, and we continued writing songs. Mikey went into the military in 1981.
Air
so-
Force, there's a difference.
Oh, sorry. All military. Thank you, vets, by the way.
Yes.
Right?
Past and present. So Mikey went in the military. The three of us started another band called Riff Raff.
Mikey kind of had to go into the military.
He kind of had to. So that's a story for another day.
Let's talk about how coming together to start to. I don't remember exactly the concept, how it happened that we decided to get back together to record this stuff.
I do.
I do.
I remember. My sister was having her anniversary.
25th anniversary.
25th
Yep.
anniversary, being married. And we got invited to the reception. It's kind of, honorable because we
You're
never-
her brother.
Yeah, that and we never get invited to anything.
Well, we were all at Margaret's wedding
Yeah.
in 1977.
Yep. Yeah.
We all went to that wedding.
And we started talking, and Kevin came up and
And that was
says,
a big deal because of all of the tribe of people that we, was our family.
Right.
She was the first one to go off to adult land.
"Yeah,
Right. That's right.
I'm still trying to figure that out myself for me,
So
but
that wedding was really
It was
really a
pivotal.
hallmark. It was a pivotal.
Well, there was another pivotal moment that same day, because Sue Argiro, who wrote the lyrics to the song "Now I Can See," she brought that poster. She said, "Look what I had in my attic."
yeah.
Remember?
yeah,
And that's how it all. Like, dude, we need to record these songs. They've been sitting around, and fortunately, I had them all transferred to digital. So, because I had to give Mr. Mayberry wanted those reels back, so I had to give them back. But if my dad and Jimmy's dad didn't record all those songs, they would have been gone.
Gone.
A lot of them, not all of them.
Not all, because lyrical wise, you broke it
Businessman.
down.
Yeah, but
Businessman is another one that's
music-wise-
lost to
Music-wise, we
time.
didn't have it written
Music-wise,
down.
no.
And what was the cool part about it was when you were transposing from tape down to like learning the guitar parts, because those guitar parts I hadn't played in 40 some odd years.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
no
did
way
I
wasn't
show you
gonna-
how to play them? No.
You didn't. You reminded me a lot of,
Oh,
of
yeah,
how
but-
certain things. You went to this
Because
note,
I
you
can't
did this,
play
and I
like
was
you, so
But
would have
but
ended
you
up
had
different.
you had
I had the chords down.
you had the chords
I
down.
did have the
You-
chords down, yeah.
I may have played different inversions or whatever.
Well,
but
you
it
just
was,
put
you
your spin on it, which is the Exodus AD spin. So I couldn't do that. I play like Mikey. I'm dead solid with the drummer and the bass player.
where I'm off to another.
You're
planet.
a colorer. You're painting everywhere, man.
outside the lines.
Outside the
the
lines.
lines, yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Right on.
And it is, I'm just so grateful because we recorded those things. Originally, the idea that I had, because I only had 8 tracks to work with in the beginning of this. So the recording could have even been better had I had a multi-track studio. But I didn't have that, didn't have the money for it, any
We'll
of that.
forgive you.
Thanks, man. So
Did eventually.
I did eventually during these recordings. Yeah. But we started out, and the big thing is we played live. We did lay down all the tracks, the bass, drums, guitars, live, rhythm guitars. Because wanted that feel, that original intent of the feel that we had back then. Because some of our songs speed up and slow down, and that's purposeful. We're not sticking to a meter. And we did all that. And one of the cool things is I realized I know how Jimmy plays. He's such a creative, in the moment player that I didn't tell him this at the time. But we got nice guitar sounds, rhythm guitar sounds and stuff. And so when we played live, the goal is always to get the drums right. Then you can track everything around it.
And you double back.
Double back. Well, I didn't want to do that with him because the first thing he was going to play was going to be fresh, exciting, and painting all over and doing all these tricks and And so I didn't tell him that these were his actual tracks that we're keeping. And you were a little mad at me about that after it was all done. I said, "Nah, you're done, man." "What do you mean I'm done?" With the rhythm tracks.
I was warming up.
Yeah.
There were some pre-production recordings we did.
We did, yeah.
With
We
just
did all the
acoustics.
songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, acoustics
Because
and
you had to
some
get
electrics.
familiar.
There were no
back to-
drums, it was
We
just-
had to refamiliarize ourselves with stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
And make sure the arrangements were the way they should be and all that stuff.
I'm sure as we start listening to some of the music, I'm going to say, okay, this song or that song, I didn't remember anything of it. You know what I mean? It's just gone. So it's like so you taking the time out to learn that stuff, it was like, that sped up everything.
Well, it was truly, truly a labor of love. And I'm not saying that, well, I might be biased. I don't know. But Exodus AD is one of my all-time favorite bands.
You're
And-
awesome.
Yeah. And truth
in
be
that
told,
band.
it's one of my influences, like Zeppelin and stuff like that. Because I learned how to play guitar from watching Mikey and Jimmy. That's how I started and learned. And I learned how to write songs from watching John craft songs with Jimmy and Alone, and same with Mikey with writing songs. That's how I started learning, and and started picking up other instruments and stuff. So this band was not to give anyone a big head, it was an influence on me, and it was.
And we didn't rush through it. We took our time.
Oh, what, the
We got to-
recordings?
yeah, the
Oh,
recordings.
we took 8 years.
Yeah.
8 years? I thought it was 6.
No, it was 2002 to 2010.
We do a night or two a week.
Yeah, something like that.
You know?
Yeah. 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever it
yeah.
was. But yeah, so in 2002 we started the recordings, and I only had 8 tracks, so I figured we're going to at least have something to have for memory's sake. Nothing to be released or any of that stuff. Then a little later on, after the basic tracks were done, I got Pro Tools. So, and I treated it like it was. I didn't know my way around Pro Tools, but I knew my way around a 2-inch, 24-track studio or a multi-track studio. I didn't have any of that yet. But from having the 8-track and stuff like that, I just figured it's 4 times that size. So I had Pro Tools 7.3 LE. So we had 32 tracks to work with now. So I transferred the 8 tracks over. I did it analog to transfer them to digital over to that. And then we did we got to add all the cool stuff we wanted to. We wanted to put the bunch of the harmony vocals, all that stuff, make it proper. Keyboards where we wanted keyboards. Some of the bluesier stuff, we wanted some organs in there, and we wanted to get that kind of Rush and Genesis type thing. That guitars, you'd have to use a lot of different crazy pedals to get. So that was it was a labor for me. It was a total labor of love. I don't know how many hours I tried to figure it out once and figure out $50 an hour. It was close to $100,000 that we probably would have spent.
That's all.
In a real studio.
That's not bad.
In a real studio.
Yeah, but over the span of 8 years, I mean, hey.
In a studio, that's $50 an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where Haven recorded our first album is $150 an hour. So that's $1 million.
I don't feel bad now recording that last album with you for the price we got then.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a lot of money, but I guess
We don't really know what that price was either.
no, I don't need. We're gonna keep tighter books, man. It was a lot.
So for me, it was a labor of love, and I think it was for these guys too.
sure.
Yep.
And Mikey, being in another state, came down and played his parts, did the 12-string guitars and electrics. So it was really a labor of love for us, and we didn't skimp on anything with what we had. We had, after the 8 tracks were transferred, we had 24 tracks to make it count, and we did the best we possibly could. Only having the drums on 2 tracks is tough, because you just can't do all that. You need the cymbals on a separate track, and so some of it is not super balanced, but the point has gotten across, the feel has gotten across, and I think everything is everything that
the
needs
most
to be there.
important
That's
thing,
right.
Yeah.
Everything that needs to be there is there. So
It was. I didn't realize it took so long, but I just remember going to the studio after, because at the time I was playing in a rock band out of Philly, and I was like, man, I got to go to the studio and I got to do this thing, and it's like, but whenever I came to the studio, it felt like, okay, now I can kind of relax and feel like I'm doing something that I want to really get into,
Yeah.
and but there was times where I was just like you said, it's a labor of love. There's a lot of times, just like today, I don't want to be here, but I'm here. But it's something that you feel passionate about. So if you don't put in the time, you're never going to get the time for it. So.
And you know what else I noticed too? I think maybe Mikey was a little bit hesitant. Were you hesitant at all when you were recording your tracks?
No, I was just making sure I got my fingers where they needed to be. You know?
Yeah. Because Mikey really
I was
wasn't
really
playing
happy
electric
that,
guitar for a
that,
long time.
You know, I was really happy that like you were coming up to do some of the tracks like that. I was like, oh man, yeah, this is going to be good now.
Had to have
because
everyone
you know
on.
there's this flavor you put, this spin on your guitar that I was just like. That's what made us gel as guitar players. You know what I mean? So I was just like, this is going to be good, because if it was all relying on just me to put my stuff on there, and you know, I'm sure you would have done certain things to make it, you know, so you can have that Mikey influence in it.
Well,
but there's only one of you
Right.
to do it, you know,
Right.
and you need
Yeah.
that spice in there.
I came
so.
down. I've spent 10 hours in the studio.
Yeah.
Yep.
Weren't you down here more than once?
No, we did 10 hours in one day.
Oh, okay. Well, also, I think besides you, I think you know you were just concerned about because you hadn't played electric guitar in a long time.
Yep.
You were playing your 12-string, but not the electric.
Right. Because I went to the military.
Right.
I left you the electric guitar, and I took the 12-string with me.
Right. So, but one thing I noticed when we were in the studio, and I think it's a matter of, you know, the chemistry and being friends since we were little kids and stuff, is everyone felt completely at home.
Yeah.
There were no nerves saying, you know, I mean, there might have been concern with like, I want to get this way or whatever, which is natural. But there was, I think it seemed like everyone felt at home, you know, working in the studio. And you have zero inhibitions when it comes to,
Where's this going?
well, no, I mean, when
Is
laying
this the
down,
underwear story?
no, laying down vocal parts and
Okay,
stuff,
yeah.
you know, because I personally like to be alone and have no distractions.
When you sing.
So I can experiment and do
Right.
all kinds of crazy stuff. And you could care less who's in the room. You're just right on it, and I just love your vocals, man. You did a great job, fantastic job. Everyone did a great job, and to this day, we haven't had those CDs long, but they're two of my favorite all-time CDs.
Well, they probably will become maybe two of our favorite if you ever get a chance to play them and we can hear them.
Okay, we're gonna cut out and see what we come up with here.